Welcome to Warrior Networking Mastermind with today's guest, Keith Shaw, speaking on and I love this title, Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Love it. As an entrepreneur, small business owner, leader of your family, or leader of any community, we all need to execute on best practices. In this timely mastermind, Coach Keith Shaw will guide participants in exploring and executing best principles for leading effectively, accelerating personal growth, team and community engagement, and organization high performance. Four things that we all want to do effectively. Keith Shaw is a leadership and personal development speaker, trainer, and coach who has 20 plus years of Fortune 500 company experience, a master's degree in management and leadership, former university professor, DISC behavior style analysis, and John Maxwell certified speaker. We've all heard a little bit about that several times over the past couple of years. He's also a trainer and a coach. He's an ambassador for personal development and leadership and is committed to making the world a better place by serving others. Please join us with our guest speaker today, Keith Shaw.
All right. Thank you, Randy. And I'd like to first say thank you to you and to Dave for giving me the opportunity to share my message. I appreciate the wonderful introduction. And I'm excited to be here today. So I do have a presentation that I'm going to use as a guide for our discussion. I will ask that if you have questions of this, anything that you would like, any questions that you have, that you can use the chat, and I'd be happy to try to respond to those things. But I'm excited today because personal development and leadership are something that have played a significant part of my life. And it's part of my mission to share that with others so that they too can benefit from that. So I'm going to share my screen, if you will bear with me for just one moment while I initiate that. Okay, can you confirm what is showing right now? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
And do you see my presentation screen or?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Today you will learn a clear definition. Got it.
Perfect. So let's start by talking about what we're going to cover today. One of the things I want to share with you is a more clear definition of leadership. And really excited about that part. I think leadership is a very abstract concept. And so I want to help you develop a more clear understanding of leadership. We're going to also talk about intentionality and personal development. And I believe that these are the gateways to your gifts. These are things that can change your lives. We're going to also talk about recommitting and taking responsibility for our own growth, as well as learning how to increase engagement, connection, and influence in our lives, in our organizations, and hopefully in the world. I won't spend any time on this slide. This is some of the accomplishments that I've had over the course of my life. We mentioned that I'm a John Maxwell certified coach. And as well as that, I'm also a student of Marshall Goldsmith. He's the author of the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. It's my objective to learn from the best that I can. And so I study the brilliant work of these two individuals. Of course, John Maxwell, who is regarded as one of the most highly regarded leadership gurus in the world. And then Marshall Goldsmith, who's regarded as one of the top 50 leadership coaches in the world as well. So looking to learn as much as I can so that I can share it with others. Before we get into the content, I just want to share just a little bit more about me. So there you see a picture of me at age 3. And you see those big old ears. I just grew into those ears about 2 years ago. And but that young man there had no idea of the things that he would encounter in the course of his life, and the things that he would accomplish during the course of his life. And those things are things that I want to share with you because I think they're things that can inspire others to achieve great things as well. That house there is where I grew up, part of a family of 5, the youngest of 5, my mother, father, and one brother and one sister. It's tough living in a 800 square foot house with 1 bedroom. Our community was low income, high crime, low expectations. And the great thing that I want to share with you today is that my circumstances did not prevent me from seeing the potential that was out there in this world. And I like to share that message with others because if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I'm from Wichita, Kansas, born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. Let me just say this. I love Kansas. I'm going to start with that. I love Kansas, but I'm going to say that Kansas is not sexy. Let's just say there's not a lot of great things that come to mind, fun things that come to mind when you think of Kansas, but I actually love Kansas. One thing that comes to mind is the Kansas City Chiefs football team. Very great, a very good
Amen.
football team. One of the best probably right now. The funny thing about that is that the Kansas City Chiefs are not even based in Kansas. They're based in Missouri. So that tells you one thing right there. Another interesting thing that people say or think when I tell them that I'm from Kansas, they think about the Wizard of Oz. And the Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite stories. And it's because it's about a group of people setting out looking for something out there to complete them, looking for something to make them happy or make them whole. And what I love about that story is that, it brings home the point that while we're out chasing other things outside, that everything we need to succeed is within us already. And I think we all at some point in our lives go through times where we're looking outside for validation. We're looking outside for someone else to tell us something that we already know. And that's why it's such a great story. And the other thing about the Wizard of Oz that I want to mention today is that the favorite character in the Wizard of Oz for me, is the Scarecrow. Let me tell you why. Because every time I ask about the Scarecrow, what's the Scarecrow doing? The response is that, oh, the Scarecrow, he's outstanding in his field. And I think all of us would like to be outstanding in our field. And hopefully today, some of the things that I share with you about leadership and personal development will help to move you further ahead in your journey to being outstanding in your field. Now, I will let you know that I live in Texas. I've been in Texas for 25 years now. So I consider myself a Kansan and a Texan. And I want to say that there's no place like home. There's no place like home. I'm only saying it twice. You say it 3 times, and if you got ruby red slippers, it sends you back. So I'm going to stay in Texas, so I'm only saying it twice. Plus, it's very difficult to find ruby red slippers in a size 13, so I'm only saying it twice. So let me ask you a couple of questions. What if you as a business owner could create an environment for the people that you support, the people that you work for, your customers, where they become raving fans? They go home and talk about you because in a positive way, because of the great things that you do. How special would that be? If you're a business owner with employees, how great would it be for you to create an environment, to create a culture where everybody comes to work, everybody's happy, everybody works together, and everybody has the same mindset that we need to satisfy the needs of our customers so that we can succeed? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, I'm hoping that today I can share some things with you that you might be able to use in your business that can help you to accomplish some of those things. So I'd like you to imagine. I'm going to give you a couple of things, and I want you to, if you can, in the chat, tell me which one of these might be important to you or most important to you, or maybe it's all of them. But let's just talk about this. Let's imagine for a moment. Imagine we could increase the engagement in what we have today, which is an increasingly isolated, detached workforce based on work from home and hybrid and the other things associated with the pandemic that we just worked our way out of. And next, how cool would it be if you're able to reduce turnover despite us being in the middle of the Great Recession, of the Great Resignation? And the Great Resignation is not over. It's flattened out, but it's not over. It continues and it's ongoing. And we're going to talk a little bit about some things that you might be able to do to have a positive impact on the situation or to reduce the impact of the Great Resignation. So, wouldn't it be great if you could create an amazing and supportive culture where your people work together? They feel like they're recognized, that they're seen, and that they're able to increase performance of the organization because of the environment that has been created. And is there anybody here who would like to become that spark in your organization that elevates the performance of everybody else? I know I do. Lastly, and then what would it be like to be able to manage conflict and to connect with your team and handle stressful situations in a way that is more healthy? I think that will be wonderful. If you like any of these things, if any of these things will be good for you, if you feel like any of these things will be helpful to you and your organization, put it in the chat. Just pick one and say if one of those resonates with you more. Just put a 1 if it's 1, put a 5 if it's number 5. If it's all of them, put all of them. Just curious to see and know what your thoughts are with regard to those things, if they could be beneficial to you and your organization. Randy, I might need your help there because I cannot see the chat.
Yeah, it says I'm here. It's there's I put in there all would be great. I would just say that the key here is that that I think communication is key, right? Is really getting understanding, building relationships. I think fundamentally you're a little younger than Randy and some of the rest of us here, but there's people, we were busting people with regard to age in the early, but we're not ageists, so we're fine. But I would say that the real key here is the fundamentals that we've all learned along the way don't really change just because we've disrupted things and do more things more online. I think the key is just as we figure out, the Great Resignation is just that you've got a younger generation here that is, and an older generation. We're dealing with an environment that we weren't used to, and we all want to hang on to what our zombie brain has us as being comfortable with. So go ahead and jump in. Casey says she likes number 4. So okay. Go ahead. I'll turn it back to you. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Thanks for the input. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Great Resignation has impacted us all, and it's been my experience based on my interaction with the Fortune 500 company that I work for, plus other organizations that I've worked with over the last year or two. That is not just the younger generation that's impacted by this.
Right.
People at all ages, the entire workforce has been impacted and are participating in the Great Resignation. People are leaving. They're retiring early. They are leaving to find jobs that they feel are more fulfilling. They're leaving to accept positions that make more money. They're starting their own businesses. And they are leaving because they want to do something that matters. And that's impacting all businesses of all types and businesses of all sizes. Now, another interesting thing that I realized in some of my research is that the Gallup, the organization called Gallup, did a study in 2022, which shared that there was a 2% decrease in engagement in 2022, and that's the first time in 30 years that there was a decrease of that large. Typically, you could just look at that survey and it would always be, less than 1%. But there's been a 2% decrease in engagement in organizations. So that is something that is very concerning, and hopefully that trend will not continue in 2023. The result of that has been that the employees who have not left, the loyal employees who've stayed and continued to do the majority of the work, are feeling overwhelmed and overworked. And that is creating another problem, which also is leading to people deciding that maybe it's time to retire, or maybe it's time for me also to look for another opportunity. And the result of that is that people are looking for help. People need something. They need something different. And for me, I believe that leadership impacts everything. And leadership is just one thing that we can do to help address this particular situation. I want to share something with you. We just got out of a pandemic, but there's another situation, a medical term that people are experiencing. We're experiencing more of as a result of the lack of engagement in the workplace, and that's optical gluteus maximus, not today. And let me translate for you if you haven't figured it out. That's when an employee calls in and says, I can't see my tail coming to work today. So attendance rates are going down because people are calling in sick, and businesses don't have enough people to do the job. So this is another challenge for most businesses, and hopefully we can talk about some leadership activities and behaviors that can help to change the culture in your organization. So the Great Resignation is not going anywhere. It's here. It's going to be here for a while. It may have leveled out, but it's not going anywhere. So we got a couple choices. We can curl up in a little ball and wait for it to pass and see what happens, or we can reach out to our employees and identify how and what we can do to increase the level of connection and engagement with our employees so that they feel a connection to us. Maybe we do something that can mitigate the impact of the Great Resignation so that as leaders, we can continue to drive success within our organizations. So I wanted to ask you a question. So just take a moment and think, when you think of leadership, what comes to mind? And I'd like for you to just drop it in the chat. Take 10 seconds to think. Leadership. How do I define leadership? Take 10 seconds to do that. Ready? Go. And Randy, I need you to tell me what you got. Yeah, and Randy, if the chat is difficult to see, we can also.
I can see it. It's fine.
You got it. Okay.
Okay. So basically, Randy said respect, and I would say leadership. Number one is not management. It's vision. It's courage. And it's a warrior mindset, which by my definition is somebody who's focused forward. And the other thing is, if you're a leader and you look behind you and there's nobody there, you ain't a leader. You're just on a walk. So that's the key, is you're giving people some ability to see and align with you on where you're going, and you're plotting that path forward. So anybody else? VJ says strategy. Yep, that's kind of as you get into if you look at things. Casey says someone who inspires others to do their best.
Absolutely.
So inspiration is a good one, and I like that one because leaders are often viewed as motivators, and to me, motivation is manipulation. So really, it's basically being very, very clear and authentic in where you're going and the path that you're on. And frankly, if people resign from that, that's a good thing. So, but if they resign from the company or resign from doing what they're doing because of they don't understand the value of where we're going, that's where leadership falls short.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for calling those out for me, Randy. I appreciate that. Great examples, great opinions about leadership and what it is. And one thing that I like to point out whenever I ask that question, I always get a variety of answers. And the reason for that is that leadership is very abstract. Leadership means different things to different people. So one of the things that I like to do, and this is really, really impactful in a larger organization, but I think it's helpful and impactful for anybody. One of the things I like to do is to help people have a more simple definition and a common and congruent definition of leadership. And I use John Maxwell's very simple definition, which is leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. So that's John Maxwell's definition. And I like to take that just a step further to define influence as having an impact on an individual or an organization's attitude, behavior, character, or development. And that is a common definition of leadership that I use and that I like to share with individuals so that they can have a common understanding of exactly what leadership is. So, and I believe that leadership impacts everything. I like to give examples. One example I give is Tom Brady. I know everybody's not a football fan, but I feel like it's such a great example. Tom Brady on 2 occasions has joined organizations that were mediocre, but because of his leadership, because of his drive, because of his passion for success, and his challenging of other people, he elevated the performance of everyone around him. And my question for you is, what if you were that spark for your organization, and how powerful that could be? So what I'm going to talk to you about for the remaining time that we have together is a few things that you can do to help you increase your level of influence in your personal life, in your relationships, and in the organizations for which you work. So number one, the first thing you can do is to be intentional. And so when I say be intentional, I mean be purposeful, especially about things that have a large impact. Things that are important to you. So, because today, the things you do today will determine what you're able to do tomorrow. I have a statement I like to make is if you do today what other people won't, you'll be able to do tomorrow what other people can't. And making the sacrifices to do those things is very important, and it can change your life. And I'm so passionate about this. I consider myself an ambassador for this because I know that it works. And the reason I know is because it worked for me. As I mentioned, I came from very humble beginnings. And, I was fortunate enough to get counseling or coaching and counseling and advice from people in my community who inspired me to do more than what I saw, who caused me to see further than the circumstances that I was in. And I like to share that message with others so that hopefully they can do the same thing. But being intentional about things that are important is one of the keys to helping you reach your full potential. And I like to say that personal development is the gateway to your gifts. And
just out of curiosity, wait a minute.
Yes.
How old were you when they started giving you some counseling back home?
So I'm going to give you the short version of the story. I was 7 years old, and my family moved to a new community. And in that new community, everybody played basketball, and I did. And I was not able to make friends in that new community. And I was very sad and not fitting in because I couldn't make friends. And there was several different pieces of advice that came along that helped me. But one main piece was I came home one day and I was looking dejected because nobody would pick me to play in the game. And my father, saw me and he asked me. He said, "Son, what's wrong?" And I told him, I said, "Dad, they won't let me play. Nobody will talk to me. I'm just not good enough." And my dad, he said, "Son, do you really want to learn how to play?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Is it important to you?" I said, "Yes." So he said, "Sometimes if you want to learn something new, you have to listen to someone who's already been where you want to go." And my father didn't play basketball. My father was the hardest, or still is. He's alive, luckily. The hardest working man I've ever seen in my life. He worked 3 jobs for the majority of my childhood. And so he said, "I'm going to send you to basketball camp." And he sent me to a camp. It cost $150 at that time, was a week's worth pay. And I really appreciate him doing that. But I got exposed to a gentleman named George Lehman, who was a former NBA player. And he taught me some things about shooting. And basically, he gave me 3 tips on shooting. And I practiced those 3 tips over and over and over and over. And it literally changed my life. And so I'll give you this piece of it first. Not only did it help me get picked on the basketball court in my neighborhood so I could make friends, it helped me make AAU basketball teams. It helped me make my high school team. It helped me get all city, helped me make all state in basketball, helped me get a college degree, which helped me get the jobs that I have worked for in the last 30 years as a Fortune 500 leader. So I wouldn't have had a chance to go to college without those circumstances happening. And it actually led to the intentionality to learn to play, actually led to habits that I've used in everything I've done that's helped me to achieve continuous success since then. Taking those 3 things that he gave me, I do that today. Every day when I walk into my office, I say, what 3 things can I get done today? What 3 things are going to help me move the needle? And I've done that throughout my life after learning that lesson with him. And he gave me 3 things to work on in my shooting. And it helped me go from a bad player who never got picked to an honored player who got a full ride scholarship, which allowed me to get a degree, which has helped me work for Fortune 500 companies for 30 years. So, and that actually led into this slide here, which is personal development is the gateway to your gifts. I learned so much from having the opportunity to, understand intentionality and realize that if you get help, if you get someone to show you or train you or teach you what needs to be done, and some things you do on your own, but sometimes getting help from someone who's already been where you want to go can accelerate your growth substantially and help you to find the gifts that you have. I believe everybody has gifts inside of them. I believe each and every one of us is special. The problem is that some of us find it early. We see these prodigies who figure it out or who stumble across it, when they're 5, 10 years old. You have others who find it later in life. And then you have some who never even look. My mission is to help people realize that it's there. You just have to go find it, put the work in to find your gifts and then share them with the world. Another thing that can be helpful to us as leaders is to be intentional about connecting with our teams. So as business owners or as entrepreneurs, as individuals who work in the corporate world or whatever we do, being intentional about connecting is important, whether it's talking to a customer or whether we're talking to someone who is part of our team. And it takes effort. It takes effort and it takes energy. But the impact of it is substantial and it's worth the effort and energy. John Maxwell, as you can tell, I'm a big fan of John. I love his concepts because they're very simple to understand and they're very effective. But he says connecting increases influence in every situation. and which is consistent with leadership impacts everything. So what I want to share with you as we start to wind down in my time here is 10 influential behaviors of engaging leadership. These are things that, especially if you have a team, these are things that will help your team connect, engage, and create amazing results. So the first is to lead by example. We want you, or I expect for you to behave in a way which causes your team to admire you and want to emulate you. And whether it's you're a business owner or someone who works for an organization, leading by example is one of the best ways to, as Randy said, create that situation where when you look behind you, there are people behind you, and you're not looking behind and there's nobody following you. Next is empathy and esteem. So employ empathy and esteem more. These are things that we can use to help us connect with others. So in a situation where you are a leader and one of your employees is struggling with whatever it is, being able to respond to them with empathy so that they see that you understand what they're going through and that you have confidence in their ability to do the job. Uh, those things help employees feel more connected with their management as opposed to us being leaders and feeling like, we're in charge. We just tell people what to do. I believe in servant leadership. I believe that when we are in a leadership position, at that point, we work for the employee. It's our job to serve them. It's our job to identify how to remove the obstacles that prevent them from performing the brilliant work that they're capable of performing. And listening to them and being able to respond with empathy when they come to you with an issue is a great way to increase your ability to influence and connect with them. Acknowledge and reward the workforce. So this is something that a lot of people struggle with. In my 30 years, I've discussed or had several discussions with managers. When we talk about reward and recognition, sometimes they say, well, as long as they're doing fine, if they don't hear anything from me, that's okay. But that's not okay. You should recognize the people who are supporting you regularly. And, um, the opinion of employees is that management recognizes them when they do something wrong. When they make a mistake, that's when they come and talk to them. And then the second piece of that is, there's a lot of managers that say if there's not a problem, I'm not going to say anything. No news is good news. Well, that's not true, because in today's work environment, when employees don't get feedback, they make it up in their own mind. And so the silence of not interacting with them, the failure to just take a moment to say thank you, creates unnecessary stress that is unintended. So take time to say thank you to the people who support you. And this applies to your personal life as well. Your spouse, your kids. Make sure you tell them that you appreciate them, because every day is not promised. So we never know when we're going to leave this earth. So make sure they know that you appreciate them. Develop the team. So the people that you have working for you and with you, you need to spend time understanding what their career aspirations are. About 50% of people who leave their job in their exit interviews, they cite that part of the reason that they departed was because they did not see their career growing in the organization or in the position that they were in. So spend some time having conversations with the people who support you, asking the question, what would you like to do with your career? What do you like about your job? What can we do to be more effective in this job? Where do you see yourself in 1, 3, 5 years? So that they can see themselves learning, growing, and having a future inside of your organization. That way, they don't have to go find that future someplace else. Engage every employee. Just going to tell a quick story. I started out as a mechanic working on the shop floor building aircraft engine nacelles 30 years ago. I would be working. They call them the big bosses would come and go from station to station to see how everything was progressing. They One day they came to my bench. They were sitting to my right or standing to my right. My boss was standing to my left, and they were asking my boss questions about the work that I was doing. During the entire interaction, not a single one of them even looked at me, did not look at me, did not smile at me, did not say hi to me, did not ask if there's anything they could do to help me do that job. And I remember that to this day, and I still feel the emptiness that I felt at that moment. I felt invisible. I was so disgusted by that. But what it did do is cause me to say, if ever I get into a position of authority, I will make sure that the people that I support, the people that I serve, know that I care about them. I'll ask them how they're doing. I'll say hello to them, and I'll get to know who they are. And I've applied that to my work throughout my career, and I've coached and trained the managers that I support to do the same. And I believe it's made a substantial difference and impact, not only in their relationships with the people that they support, but also in general with regard to having more connection and reducing turnover and getting better performance, because employees know that their managers care for them and they're not just a number. All right, respect everyone. When we talked about leadership, we asked a question about leadership. Someone said respect, absolutely. And this is one of my definitely one of my favorite and top ones, because if you forget everything else that I say, remember that if you just respect everyone, you're probably going to do okay. Share the vision. I have a long story about that, but I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to skip that. The key is that as a leader, do you have a vision? First of all, do you know the vision of your organization? Do you know the mission of your organization? Number two, do you know how your department or area supports the accomplishment of that mission and vision? Number three, have you communicated to the people who support you how the work that they perform supports the mission and the vision of the organization, and making sure that you share that with them? That will help to create a bond there, and they will help you accomplish the mission and the vision. Honesty, integrity, trust, and service. And these are characteristics that most employees, when surveyed, request or like most in their leaders. So very common. I'm sure we all know those already. It's actually honesty, integrity, and trust. And I add service because I'm a servant leader. I believe when we take service and we add it to what we do as leaders, it changes everything. So definitely a very important characteristic. Number 9, implement a coaching culture. So this is very important. Most leaders walk around, uh, you know, understand or feeling like they are running the show, and they tell people what to do, and either they do it their way or they got to go. I believe that we should implement a coaching culture or coaching mentality in the way we lead today. Um, Coaching is, in my opinion, the most powerful force on earth for growth, change, and improvement. And if you think about the people who have had a positive impact on your life, I'm pretty sure that the majority of people have either a coach, a teacher, or a boss who was instrumental in teaching them something. And so a coaching culture, a coaching mentality is something that helps employees realize that you really care about them and you're going to help them succeed. And once they understand and once they feel that, it creates a level of engagement that helps to accomplish extraordinary things. And then the last is to push personal development. So uh, when I say push personal development, I'm talking about in yourself, number one. My question for you first is, do you have a personal development plan? Have you looked at where you are today to determine if you are where you want to be? And if the answer to that is no, that's okay. You can do that today. Identify where you are, determine if that's where you want to be, and then figure out a plan to get from where you are to where you want to be. I promise you, the gap between where you are to where you want to be is not that far. And if you create a personal development plan with milestones that helps you move there, you can get there very quickly. And I want you to think about not just doing that for you as a leader. You need to do that because guess what? The majority of people who become leaders don't get trained on becoming leaders. They learn what do they call it? Trial by fire and trial and error, and that's okay. We all learn through trial and error, but a better way to learn, in my opinion, is to invest in personal development and work to learn the things that you need to learn so that when the time comes that you become a leader, you're prepared and you're able to support the people who you're serving. And then secondary, to make sure that you are encouraging personal development for the people who you support, who you serve, so that they can work to become the best version of them. And if you think about it, an organization is only as good as the people in the organization. And if the employees are working to improve themselves, all that's going to do is increase the capacity and capability of your organization. So it's important to push that and to help your organization move forward. Skip through that. All right. So recap as we close. Personal development is the gateway to your gifts. We've learned that we can accomplish great things if we focus on our personal development and if we are intentional about our growth. Leadership impacts everything. So we as leaders can impact the circumstances that our environments are in today. We can make a difference by elevating the level of leadership in ourselves and in our organizations. And then connecting increases influence. So I shared with you 10 influential behaviors that can help you connect with your workforce. And the impact of that will be to increase productivity and to reduce turnover. So as I close, I just want to say that really quick story. My wife and I were driving. I was driving the car. We stopped at a stoplight, and I looked to the left, and the person next to me, the car next to me, was doing something. I can't remember what he was doing, but it got my attention. Well, the light turned green, but I was looking at the person in the car next to me. So my wife tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Sweetheart, the light is green. You have the green light." And so I looked both ways and then moved forward. That is similar to our journey with regard to personal development. Each and every one of us has the green light to create the life that we desire and deserve. But we get distracted by life. We get distracted by the kids. We get distracted by work. We get distracted by so many other things that it causes us to not continue to be focused on becoming the best version of ourselves. And I want to remind you today that you have the green light to create the life that you desire and deserve. And when you leave this meeting, you're driving home, I hope that every intersection that you pass reminds you that you have the green light so that you can continue to make a positive difference in the world. And that's what I have for you today. I want to thank you for your time and attention. I believe that each and every one of us has an obligation to reach our full potential so that together we can make a positive difference in the lives of others.
That's awesome, Keith. Why don't you go ahead and stop sharing your screen, and we'll let some other folks introduce themselves that have joined. So let's see, Bernie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, great. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. I am Bernie Francis. I'm the owner of a company by the name of First Class Caregivers. And we are a premium brand of assisted living for anyone who wants to age or rehab in the comfort and safety of home. We're not clinical, but we're indispensable. My best referrals, of course, come from family females who culturally do about 70% of emergency family care. And we all know that's not quite fair. And an old storyline says it best. Mom and dad died from Alzheimer's, but only dad had the disease. We're first-class caregivers. We're help with stuff when family care is not enough.
Awesome. Good job, Bernie. All right. Anybody else got any questions? Thanks. Let's give Keith a hand. Awesome. And let's get some other folks weighing in here. Any questions or thoughts that people have?
Share the comments with Keith that were in the chat room. Some really good thoughts were posted.
Yeah. Anybody see those thoughts pop up?
Yes, all of them.
Yeah, well, not all of them. I'm in control. And it's a new feature that I just found. As I said, this is a moving platform, which is exciting to me. Okay. Yeah. And
talk about leadership and control.
You didn't know that he was a control freak, did you?
Oh, no. She's been around long enough to know that about me probably already. Yeah, I'm learning all the time. So Casey is awesome too. Watch this. Watch this. I'll show this. This is pretty cool. So I'm going to type a little chat and say, Casey is awesome. Okay. And watch this.
And he takes it out. Uh-oh.
Says Casey is awesome.
Then he went over to the left.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you did that.
Yeah, well, I was wondering how I did it. I knew that feature was coming. Actually, this platform, I mean, everybody has a kind of a Zoom mindset, but this is actually taking some of the best features from StreamYard, Zoom, TikTok, you name it.
And you can control this, David?
Yep.
As the leader?
Mm-hmm.
So
and actually, anybody that
you can stop it.
What's that?
If someone says something obnoxious, you can stop it.
Well, I won't put it up there if it's obnoxious.
That's what I meant. Well, you can't stop it from the right, from the chat, but you can prevent it.
Oh, yeah, you put it in the chat, but it won't be on the screen.
Got it.
And this is being recorded, so I'm going to see what the recording looks like. But my guess is this will be on the recording so people can see what's going on. So unlike the other chat where you can do some things, here publicly you can get out on record as providing input.
I just tried to copy I took my mouse and I tried to copy all the chat notes and then try to put it in Word. Didn't work.
Yeah, you won't be able to copy it. You can, like I said, go up to chat and say save to clipboard. If you can find it on your clipboard. My problem is I have trouble finding my clipboard.
Right.
I was able to copy and paste, but not to Word, just to a blank sheet of, a blank open piece of paper, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes, Randy, go ahead.
So there are three things that I'd like to add to this, and they may sound insignificant, but fortunately in my career I learned, and I worked, as I said earlier, Keith, I worked in high technology, defense, aerospace, and all the rest of that stuff. And I'm going to call him a lowly friend who had risen to the top, said there are three other things that you need to pay attention to, three other people you need to build a relationship. And those three are the custodian, the receptionist, and the leadership staff. And he told me that those people drive the organization. The place isn't clean, they're in big trouble, right? The receptionist knows who's coming and who's going, and usually what the subject matter is. Now, you can't just walk in and say, could I see the list of who came in today? You got to build a relationship before that's going to happen. And then the last one is the leadership staff. I'm not talking about the leadership, but it's the folks that work for the leaders, okay, are the people that know, they're the inner sanctum. They know what's going on. Now, I'm not talking about gaining an inside advantage or stealing information, but the more you know with those three people's help, the greater power you have, because you have insight into where the organization is going, what its desires are, and what its plans are. And I learned those three very early in my career.
Keith, your lips are moving, but I can't hear you. Let's see. Not sure. Let's see.
His mic's probably not on. I had that
No, it
problem.
is. Just Keith, open up attendees and then click your mic. Sometimes the one in it shows you as on, but sometimes when we get real creative here, it'll create some wonkiness. Sorry, Keith. Somehow your mic has gotten disconnected. That's not you, most likely. It's just I'm maxing out the capabilities here.
I did it, Keith. Sorry.
So you can put it in the chat, Keith, and I'll post it.
Let me try turning my mic off and see if we've overloaded.
No, yeah. It's really local on your machine is what I'm discovering. But anyway, it's kind of fun. Well, at least for me. I know it's frustrating to somebody that's talking and they can't be heard. So, yeah. One of the things that's coming out of the technology area, I will tell you, is turn it on and turn it back off. So you can just refresh and then come back in. Sometimes that cleans everything up. So, but anyway, any other thoughts, guys? Love Bernie. It's good to see you, brother.
Thank you, man. Good to see the team.
I saw you come in a little bit after we got started, so I didn't want to, but I did want to get you there.
Thank you.
Now Keith is back.
I'd like to.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Beautiful.
There we go.
So anyway, Keith, go ahead. You were talking. Did we interrupt you so much you forgot what you were going to say?
No, I was just saying thank you to Randy for sharing that advice and for calling out the comments put in the chat.
Hey, Keith, I know you have a day job, but is there any other things or contact information you want us to follow through on? Any other offers? Anything you got going?
Yes, I do. So my let's see. I'm gonna see if I can drop it in the chat. Let's see.
Yeah, do it in the chat, and then I'll share it. I'll feature it on the screen. How's that?
Ooh,
Okay. Yeah, what I was
technology
gonna
at its
do
best.
is give everybody a free access to my course, Successfully Transitioning into Supervision. I have a coupon that you can use. That'll you can get into the course for free.
How about contact info?
Yes, contact info as well coming.
Just so that I'm totally transparent, I would like to reach out to you.
All right, awesome. It'd be great. Let's see. So there's the link and the coupon code. There is my website, and here's my email address.
There you go. Now, somebody click on that and see if it works. Oh, it does. It looks like a hot leaking. This is so cool. I love new things.
It's like a child.
There's my website.
Hey, yeah, that's good. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so we got this one. Everybody click on that link. Let's see.
I'm doing it the hard way, writing it.
Oh, Randy, come on. That's not new.
And there's my phone number.
Okay, so let's see. We got your link. Let's do
Where
this one.
are you? You're in Kansas?
No, I actually live in the DFW area now.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I'm from Kansas.
Okay, so that's his website. And then feature, here's his email, Coach Keith at coachkeithshaw.com. And here is his phone number, which starts with the same 3 numbers as mine. Okay. Which means he's close by.
Yes.
All right. Well, great job, Keith. Any other
Thank you.
observations, thoughts? One of the things I want to say is that if you're a newbie in this process of networking, masterminding, doing that kind of thing, sometimes you get caught up in where the leader has framed his talk. So Keith is obviously he's an HR guy and he has a day job and he's spending most of his time helping people in the corporate world, right? Is that right, Keith?
Yeah, the majority. I do have some entrepreneurs that I support, but the majority is corporate.
Yeah. And that my point is simply this. You've got people here that maybe haven't been lifelong entrepreneurs, but if you start hearing people talking about teams and employees and corporate stuff, a lot of times entrepreneurs, if they're kind of new to this transition of corporate thing to entrepreneurial or networking thing, we tend to say, oh, that's employee stuff or corporate stuff or leadership in a company. And that doesn't apply to me. That's a mistake because fundamentally, truth is truth. And people are people. And we all need people. We all need we all need, life is a team sport. If it's your family, you want your kids to follow you as a leader of that family. If you're in a network, you want people to, align with you in the network and refer to you and give you input and all the things that we talked about. So all this applies is my point.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'll just add to that in terms of your presentation itself. I thought your presentation style was extremely well suited to the audience. The pace was fast enough to want us to write notes and get the stuff down, and slow enough for us to absorb it.
I'm in a Zoom.